Hello, nice to meet you. I'm Paddy and I organise a randomised coffee trial. Now, first question is, what on earth is a randomised coffee trial? Well, somebody in a large organisation once had a great idea that they wanted to meet people from different departments, different teams, and talk about stuff that wasn't just their everyday work stuff. So, randomised coffee trial was their second not so bright idea for a great name for the scheme, but that's what it's known as. So, first question is, how do you run such a thing? Well, fairly obviously, everyone puts their name in a hat. You pull out two names at random, and they chat. Well, that works very well for the first one, but if you want to do a second one, then how do you ensure people don't speak to the same person again? Because with randomisation, there's a very high chance that somebody's going to speak to the same person 2 times in a row. So I have devised a system for doing this, and then made a web app which is free, which you're welcome to use to run your own randomised coffee trial. I just so wish it had a more sensible name. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to my computer screen and show you the amazing app I've written. Don't look too hard at the code, it's not incredibly clever code, but it does the job, so that's what matters really. Right, so we've got various boxes here and buttons, adverts at the top. If you want to encourage me, feel free to click on the adverts, or you can make a donation at the bottom if this has saved you some time. So first things first, let's think about our list of email addresses. And I've made you a dummy list of email addresses just to experiment with. If you look in the source code of this page, I'm going to press Ctrl U in my browser, that will show me it. Then up here in the comments at the top is a list of names. So just copy those. These are all made up, and I think these URLs don't exist at all. So if you send them, they won't end up being sent to a real person. They'll just come back as undeliverable. So you can copy those. And what we need to do is divide this list into 2 halves. So I'll paste the first half in my group A box here. And I know Nicola is the start of the second half. Okay, so we have 2 lists with 13 names in each. Now we need a subject line. So let's put, it's time to chat. Let's put chat number 1 as well. And then we'd have some kind of email body here. Let's type that very quickly. Okay, so there is my message. And now I can ignore this offset thing, I'll explain that in a moment, and click Create Mailing Links. And what this has done is given you a list of who's chatting to who based on their email addresses, and these are all clickable links. So when I click one of those, it will open my Outlook email and create an email with 2 names in, with the subject I've put in and with the message. And when I send this, it will go to those 2 people and they can do the rest of the work organising the chat. You might say this looks a little bit time consuming. I've got to click every link. And yeah, it is a little bit time consuming. It would be nice if you could just click a button and it would send all the emails. But the downside with that is invariably you may well find you've made a mistake with the email, and you might not notice that until you actually see the email. So sometimes you won't see the email until you've sent off 20 or 30 emails with a mistake in. So this way you can look at each email. Like here, I realise I've not put my name at the bottom, so I could put Paddy RCT Organiser, something like that. Actually, I want to put that in my original, so I will close this one, not send it, update my email message. There we are, Paddy RCT Organiser, and then regenerate the mailing links. Click it again. There we go, so it's got my name at the bottom. I can check the email addresses look right. I can send this if I want. I'm not going to send it because I'll just get some undeliverable messages coming back. And if you know your keyboard shortcuts, you can use the tab key and the shift tab key to choose which of these links you're going to click next. And you don't even need to click, you can use the enter key to open the link. And I know my Outlook can use Control Enter to send the email, so you can just whip through these by pressing Tab, Enter, and then Control Enter to send each email. Back again, Tab, Enter, and Control, and so on, and send them all off. So it needn't take a lot of time. And if you need a break in the middle, you can go as far as number 10 and then go and have a coffee or a tea, then carry on from 11 onwards. Okay, well that's the simple bit, and that's not really particularly clever. What do you do when you need to come round to chat number 2 and you want different people to speak to different people? Well, here's where I think my tool is quite useful. I choose the offset box here and I put in an offset of 1, then create the mailing lists, and this will rotate one of these email address lists around one, so everyone will speak to the next person on the list. So Ank is speaking to Oliver Offler, so Oliver is the second one on list B, and Belinda's speaking to Penelope, I think. Yep. And Michael Monet should be speaking to Nicola Nonni. Yep, there we are. So that's all gone round 1. When you come to the next chat, you put in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I've got 13 addresses on here, and I run the chats every 2 months or so. So it will be 26 months before Anna Ank speaks to Nicola Nonni again. And if they've not thought of something new to say in 26 months, then it's not really worth having a chat. And what I can do, once I've kind of run out of lists and I've gone round and everyone's spoken to everyone else, I could take half the names from Group B and swap them over with half the names from Group A, and then go round the cycle again. So that all sounds super easy, but here's the difficult thing. In fact, 2 difficult things. 1, what if you have not 26 people like I've got, but 27 people who want to take part? Well, there are 2 ways of handling this. If you yourself are involved and there are 27 chats, and which means there'll be 1 person who has nobody to chat to, you can put yourself on the list twice and you could chat to the orphan person. So you'd have 2 chats. Or, this also works, have a threesome chat. So don't have yourself in the chat at all, but when there's an odd number, you can add yourself to one of the twosomes, so you're still going to have a chat. The other difficult thing number 2, is in any large organisation, you're going to have new people joining and people leaving the organisation. And also you'll have people that will decide chats just aren't for them and sort of want to drop out. I noticed this during the coronavirus lockdowns. Lots of people wanted to chat whilst they were stuck at home, but when they went back to the office, quite a few people said, I enjoyed the chats during lockdown, but I'm quite busy now and I don't want to do chats anymore, so they dropped out. And new people joined as well, so that makes it really difficult in a way. The way I recommend handling this is to collect your list together of people who want to join and people who want to leave, and keep them separate like I've done here until just before you do the chat, because there's a good chance that on the day you're organising the chat you'll have another person joining or another person leaving, and it'll be quite muddly to try and sort it out. So right until the last minute, keep a list of new people joining, people who want to leave, and then on the day that you're going to actually send out the emails, add the new people in and take people out whilst still balancing the lists. So I can take out Sarah Sandhurst and I'll leave a blank line for her. I'll insert Edwards in where Sarah Sandhurst was. Oop, remove that spare line. And I've got Janet to remove as well. So let's take Janet. Oh, people leaving Janet. She's there, isn't she? So there's a blank line for her. Now what I can do is I can just put my name in that blank space because I'm not in the list. Email address. I'm not in the list at the moment because I kind of add myself in if there's a person who doesn't have anyone to speak to, and I add myself to a twosome and make it a threesome if there's an even number. So I should be able to see from here that I've got the same number. It says down the bottom here 13 there and 13 here. Yeah, so that's should all work. And then I can paste them into my chat manager like before. I've built in 1 or 2 error checks into this RCT manager. So if you do have unequal numbers of lines or lines without email addresses, so if I had somebody in, doesn't check everything, but that should give me a warning. Yeah, so it says at the bottom here, not all your lines contain valid email addresses, or one list has more addresses than the other. So you should be able to check. And it says down the bottom how many valid email addresses were found in the list as well. So that should help you avoid mistakes. Part of the advantage of it creating the email links for you and then you clicking them and seeing them before you send is that you can choose, if you're going to have a threesome group, you can choose which one to add yourself and just edit that email a bit and say, I'm joining the chat as well because there's an odd number of people. What other problems are you likely to encounter? Well, once I had somebody got in touch with me to say that the person they'd been joined up with to have a chat was actually somebody they were going to be interviewing for a job in the following week. So they thought that probably wouldn't be a good idea to have a chat with them right before the interview. So using the system, I was able to swap people around just for that time and make sure that they weren't going to chat to the interviewee right before their interview. I think that's pretty much all I can say at the moment. I'll put a link to this tool in the description. What's it called? Yeah, the description of this video down below. If you like my channel and you like the things I do, then let me know, subscribe, share. If you think this will be a useful tool to your company, give it a go, try it out. Randomised coffee trials are good fun. They don't really take a lot of effort to do. And yeah, what can I say really? So that's it. Bye. Enjoy your coffee or tea, be it random or trialish or not. Thanks for watching.